The 2010-2011 Carling Cup campaign is one that will live in the memory of Blues fans forever. From stunning finishes to breathtaking last-minute winners, the campaign epitomised the hard-working, determined nature of the city of Birmingham. What started as a pipe dream after the first few wins became an unbelievable reality, ending with an Obafemi Martins goal that sent Birmingham and Wembley into pandemonium. This is the story of how Birmingham City Football Club ended a 48-year wait for a major trophy in their own unique style.
It's all about progress in the Carling Cup. Both of these teams have reached the final of this competition in the past. Can they get to the third round of this season's competition? It's Birmingham against Rochdale.
Blues joined the Carling Cup competition in the second round due to being a Premier League team not competing in Europe. Their first match saw them play League One side Rochdale at home. Birmingham had to come from a goal down to overcome a gutsy Rochdale in the second round of the Carling Cup. The visitors went ahead when Gary Jones pounced after Scott Wiseman's strike was parried by keeper Mike Taylor. A dubious penalty for a Marcus Holness foul on Matt Derbyshire allowed James McFadden to level before David Murphy fired in from close range for the Blues. Birmingham then took the lead when Murphy was able to volley in after Roger Johnson's knockdown. Derbyshire then slotted in from close range, and despite Jones firing in Dale's second, the home side held on. In the next round of the Carling Cup, Birmingham City were drawn at home. Their fixture once again was another League One side in MK Dons. A free goal burst in 4 minutes were able to help Birmingham beat MK Dons and advance them in the third round of the Carling Cup. Jean Bozajour set up Alexander Hleb to guide in a 24th minute shot before finding Nikola Zigic to turn the ball in just 2 minutes later. Substitute Craig Gardner's left foot 25-yard shot after 28 minutes then left the visitors stunned.
Gardner. There's a third. A third for Birmingham in 4 brilliant first half minutes. Gardner's only been on the field 5 minutes.
Aaron Wilbraham was then able to grab a consolation for MK Dons when he slotted in after a Jabo Iber shot had been blocked.
MK Dons back in it, 10 minutes to go. But surely Birmingham
Then Birmingham City once again put aside League One competition to move forward into the next round.
Yeah, so I remember the Brentford game really well. Myself and my dad, we perhaps wouldn't have gone usually to a fairly mundane fourth, fifth round game that we played in the League Cup. But the fact that our next door neighbour, quite unusually for somebody who grew up in Droitwich, was a Brentford fan, and his whole family were Brentford fans. So being good hosts and good neighbours, we took them along.
That, I must say, was just wasn't going our way that night. Brentford weren't the side they are now. They were, good Div 1 side, big game for them. I don't think it was that big a attendance there that night, but they brought a really good following, very noisy at the railway end, and I don't know, we just didn't get going at all. And with I think it was in the second half, they scored a great goal. I think it was off left foot volley, if I remember, and it was petering out, and you thought, well, you hate to say it's their night. This is going to be one of those games that, it's just not going to happen tonight.
It's Brentford that are in front.
Suppose we were looking for an easy ride, really, from Brentford. But of course, nothing's easy with Birmingham City, as you probably know. I remember watching the game and being very confident we'd be okay. I can't remember when we went 1-0 down. It's a long time ago, but I remember going 1-0 down, and we were looking at each other thinking, "Oh well, this will be okay. This will be okay." But of course, as the game went on, I think it got to around about, probably with only about 5 minutes to go, and it was still 1-0 to Brentford.
Well, I remember doing the commentary. The one thing I do remember doing the commentary with John McCarthy, and in commentary saying, "Well, we can now concentrate on the league." I mean, it was time up virtually, and we were out the competition against Brentford, and like it was really miserable sort of day, and then all of a sudden, the one man you could rely on pops up. I think it might have been in stoppage time, Kevin Phillips, to score, the equaliser, and that was just absolutely amazing. Sometimes little incidents like that, when you're on the way out of the competition and something happens, you begin to think, could this be the year? Because I honestly thought, and so did John McCarthy, that we were out of it, losing 1-0 at home to Brentford, and then all of a sudden Kevin Phillips popped up, and then you begin to think, well, hang on, maybe. Although as Blues fans, you're always living hope, don't you? You're ever hopeful, but ever disappointed.
Personified from the Birmingham frontman.
Oh my God, he saved us so many times, and it shows. It shows the man was a batsman, always scoring, the passion he had for the club. It was unreal. And I remember, it was a real statement he was on the club for what we stand for. So passion merchant, absolute passion. Every game he played, heart and his soul. It's incredible. Blood, sweat and tears. That man was a legend for the club.
Richard Lee's goal kick will signal the end of extra time. We go to the lotteries of penalties to decide who will go into the Carling Cup quarter-final.
Blues do it the hard way, don't they? They never ever do it the easy way. And I think every game they made it difficult for themselves, it's something that we're used to as Blues fans, isn't it? Nothing comes easy to us, and any bit of glory you get is remembered for a long time and much cherished.
Down to Richard Lee in their goal again. Kevin Phillips, who took the game to extra time.
I remember that penalty shootout, Andy. I do remember it, and I can remember not looking, because if you're watching it on the TV, but particularly when you're standing there and it's a live match, you're not looking on it. You're waiting for the reaction of the crowd, to be honest.
Now that's a penalty. Up into the roof of the goal, and Birmingham's first penalty is scored.
Penalty shootout, I think Brentford missed 2 or 3 of theirs. Yeah, it was just a bit of a let-off, really, because if Phillips didn't score that last-minute goal and it was a lucky chance and the way it fell to him, we wouldn't have won a cup, and we wouldn't have those bragging rights we've got today.
All the pressure is on Craig Woodman. If he misses, Brentford are out and Birmingham are into the quarter-finals. Straight at Mike Taylor, and Birmingham are into the quarter-finals. Brentford, penalty heroes against Everton, have to bow out of the competition, and Birmingham celebrate. It's been a long, dramatic night at St Andrews, but Birmingham showed that they can go the distance. How far can this Carling Cup run go?
I think quarterfinals. You say you just thought 2 words, quarterfinals. It's like, wow, we're in the quarterfinals of a cup competition. That's big for any team, especially for Blues, because we've never really had much luck in cup competitions all the time. It's not something we're expected to do well in realistically. So of course it's exciting. And then obviously when you found out who we drew, that makes it all the more exciting. And you think, we could proper make something of this. If you win a quarterfinal, you get to the semi-finals, that's when you really start to think Wembley is right in front of you. We could go there, we could win this. And then the dreams creep in. And the quarterfinals is certainly where that belief begins for any club. But for Blues, it was something different. And I think that's what made it so special.
Well, I think Blues Villa, and I remember when the two came out of the hat together, I was ecstatic because for many years we never played each other. I can remember when Blues dropped a couple of divisions below Villa. We played them in the League Cup once in 1993, 2 divisions below us then, I think, and they beat us home and away 1-0. Famous incident when Paul Tate pushed Kevin Richardson into the stand and got sent off. Villa won both legs, but that was, it was a long time between the clubs playing each other, and that was also reflected in the promotion season. It was 16 years between Villa and Blues playing each other when the infamous games in 2002, 2003 came around. So, and there was a real sense of that when you got the two coming together in a League Cup quarter-final. It felt as intense, even more intense probably, a massive game like that, especially for Blues, who'd not won anything since, the 63 League Cup final. So to have Villa up against you on your patch was just everything you could have wanted.
Being drawn against Villa was absolutely massive. I think if I remember rightly, the cup draw took place on a Saturday lunchtime, and the fact that we were at home, I think that tipped the balance. I think if we were away, there would have been a heck of a lot more sort of trepidation going to it. When I started supporting us those first few years in the Premier League, it felt like we were invincible against Villa. But I think the 5-1 away at Villa Park, the various defeats that we'd had kind of left a little bit of a scarring on supporters. But being drawn at home to them, and you knew it was going to have to be a midweek night, which would make the atmosphere even better. There was no way with scheduling and cup fixtures that it was ever going to be shifted to Sunday lunchtimes, which kind of takes the sting out of it. But drawing Villa was, that you almost forgot about the cup for that 90 minutes. You just thought it's just beating Villa, and the cup, getting to the semi-finals of the cup is almost an aside. You just don't want to lose.
I often felt that the game against Aston Villa throughout football wasn't appreciated as much as it should have been. I think it really, there's obviously, numerous derbies up and down the country, but I always felt that Blues and Villa was a bit special, probably even more so in the 70s. But of course, since then, there's been some outstanding games that come to mind, and it's always a great occasion.
The intensity of the game, there was loads of Villa fans. Never seen so many Villa fans in my life, apart from going to Sutton Coldfield. There's obviously a few there. But very intense. The build-up, you can just feel the tension in the air at St Andrews. I've never felt anything like it before in my life at that place. I've been to a lot of good games at St Andrews, but never as loud or intense as that experience. That was quite an experience.
Can last season's beaten finalists stay on course for a return to Wembley? Or will it finally be joy for Birmingham after years of finishing second best in the second city?
So my memories of the Villa game itself, the first thing I have to say is I think a lot of Blues fans remembered it was absolutely freezing that night. There'd been snow on the pitch. I even remember there kind of being a little bit of a doubt over whether the game would go ahead. There was, snow had been pushed to the side of the pitch. The moment that the first penalty went in, I think we were kind of under the cosh in the first few minutes.
Covering in behind his skipper Dunn, but he's given it away to Cameron Jerome, and that's a good ball and a strong challenge, and it's a penalty. A mess at the back for Aston Villa, and Birmingham have been gifted a wonderful opportunity to take the early advantage here.
Well, it's a burst forward from Lee Bowyer. It's Richard Dunn, the skipper. Does he catch him? Yeah, there's a collision of legs. And that is a clear penalty. Chris Foy right on the spot, and absolutely no hesitation in awarding it.
And it's Seb Larsson, who scored his first goal in almost a year in the Premier League game at Fulham on Saturday, who has taken on the responsibility. He hasn't scored here at St Andrews for over 2 years. What a moment it would be to end that record. And he has done so. It's advantage Birmingham City.
for, because there's no question that Aston Villa had started this match the better and the brighter of the two teams, but it's the blue half of town that are celebrating right now.
We have a corner, I don't know if you remember that. Zigic heads one. For me, might have been over the line. There wasn't much in it.
And somehow or other, did Friedel keep it out? The linesman has flagged and the goal will not stand. Birmingham are convinced it crossed the line.
Oh, referee Chris Foyer's got to stop it here, because nobody really knows what that is for. Must be in communication with his assistant referee. They're claiming that that ball went over the line. And that is very, very controversial.
VAR was the thing back then. We could have been 2-0 up and cruising. They go up the other end. Bon Lahore equalises, obviously.
He's broken to Bon Lahore. Well, isn't that just how it happens in football? Birmingham felt they should have had a second goal. Now they've been picked back by the man who always seems to score against them.
I mean, to go 1-0 up, I think was obviously, it was great for our part, but of course, as you say, typically a Bon Lahore, forever a constant thorn in the Blues side. He always seems to pop up with a goal. Kind of took the excitement away from, from me a little bit. So I'm thinking, here we go, he's popped up with a goal. Is he likely to get another one? And are we going to be on the back foot? And how are we going to get through this game and not lose?
And then our best friend from Aston Villa, Bon Lahore, who always scores against the Blues, crops up and gets an equaliser, and that's where they started to get a bit nervous.
It was complete silence in my stand. The bit I was in wasn't the loudest bit. It wasn't quite the cop. And we just sat there and just took the absolute pain. And we were just like, oh, yeah. There was a bit of doubt on my head, to be honest. I think me and my family were like, yeah, we're probably going to bottle this. But then the magic man, Zigic, Cameron Jerome actually did something for once and came up with an assist. And then Nikola Zigic, it was one of the scrappiest goals I've ever seen. And Brad Friedel, I still don't know to this day how he didn't reach it. It was one of the slowest goals I've ever seen. I think it took a deflection and looped over him. And he just did some, I think it's because he was so old, bless him. He couldn't quite have the reflexes to get it. And it just looped over him and it was absolute scenes.
That was one apiece. And it looked as though it was going to go to extra time. And, listen, it was a very scruffy goal, wasn't it? But I can see it now. Of all the many years of watching Blues, I've got some snapshots that are kind of seared onto my memory of great moments. And that is one of them. I can see the ball now. Zigic stretching and the ball looping up and the goalkeeper just trying to claw it away. He dived a bit too soon and he just tried to claw it away. I thought he was going to save it, but he just took off too quick and then his hand started dropping and the ball just dropped over his hand and into the back of the net. And the next thing I knew, I was submerged in people. A guy jumping on me who I've never met before in my life. And it was a great celebration. We hadn't beaten Villa for a long time in big matches, and that was a very, very sweet moment. And we'll remember it for a long time, I think.
We paid Zigic 60 grand a week in the Championship when we were near bankruptcy, and I think every Blues fan will tell you he didn't have to score another goal after that, and he'd still be worth every single penalty for that moment alone. It was just amazing, and there's nothing better than beating the Villa. And yeah, it's just a moment that I'll never forget as a Blues fan.
And it had to be the big man scoring in such a weird way. But the main thing is it goes in the net. Who cares? I couldn't give a monkey's how the ball finds the net, just so long as that it finds the net for Blues. And obviously it did. Takes an awkward bounce. Friedel just misses it. And the elation behind the goal that you see in so many videos when it hits the net. Zigic is gassed. Craig Garner comes and jumps over on top of Zigic. And it's those moments that you just live for. It's wonderful. You can just watch it over and over again and never get bored as a Blues fan, because it's wonderful, especially when you're beating your local rivals, bitter local rivals.
you're on top, you don't take your chances. How often does it come back to bite you on the bottom? Cameron Jerome does it ever so well. He pulls this ball back into a dangerous area, and Zigic gets on there, and the deflection is cruel. It's really, really cruel on Aston Villa, and particularly Brad Friedel, but Zigic is in the right place, and it's the deflection that takes it up and over Friedel, who is absolutely helpless to keep it out. And Birmingham, well, they were bad luck. They had bad luck in the first half when the ball went over the line, but there's the deflection, and this time they get good luck. And doesn't it make you wonder? Makes you wonder whether it could be their year.
Keep right on to the end of the road is the Birmingham song. How appropriate is that?
But when he stuck that in against the Villa, I just remember the whole box screaming and erupting with joy and pleasure, except for these two poor Aston Villa supporters stuck in the corner, absolutely gobsmacked that there was about 5 minutes to go, and Birmingham were leading 2-1 in the League Cup. And of course, that's what the final score was. And we were into the semi-finals.
25,000 Birmingham fans start to celebrate. For once in the second city derby, it's Aston Villa who takes second billing and second place. And Birmingham City have a night they won't forget for a very, very long time.
The thing is, what was the best part for Blues, although there was still the tenseness and the anger in the air of the derby and between the two sets of fans, Blues were on the joyous side. And that's the main thing. That's what makes it so sweet. You know, you can bask in that glory of the fact that you have won in a quarterfinal against your most bitter rival. And I think that's just what makes it so special. And there are, I doubt you'll get few better atmospheres than that at St Andrews ever again.
Beating the Villa was just massive. And then the next round against West Ham, that's when things really got intense.
Please welcome tonight's Carling Cup semi-final, the players of Birmingham City and our West Ham United.
And I remember going to the game, driving down to the game, and you know, it had got more edges than Hampton Court Maze. You know, Golden Sullivan, Karen Brake, got all that going on. All that going on. All the nonsense that they'd sold to Carson Young, and David Gold wasn't happy with Carson Young. They'd said he could be MD, and then they reneged on it. All the sort of stuff that went on gave it an extra buzz, as if being the first leg of the semi-final of the League Cup with Wembley, the prize, as if that wasn't enough. It had got all these other things going on.
I was at the game at West Ham. Yeah, I remember thinking if we can get away with a draw, then you know we'd have a good chance at home. My lasting memory of that was a terrible mistake by the goalkeeper.
Noble. It's a good driving run from Noble. Abinna's header back across. Piquion underneath it. And sliced across goal, and again hit back in there. They've done it from the angle.
We were second best on the day. They had a player sent off. I can't remember who it was now, but they had a player sent off. And I think Mark Noble might have had his best game for West Ham. I think he scored the opener, and he was absolutely bossing that midfield. You know, Liam Ridgewell scored, as you rightly say.
Has been looking increasingly agitated. Birmingham, though, encouraged. Larson's corner, and there's the equaliser, and it's Liam Ridgewell against his old club. Back at the place where he started as a junior, Liam Ridgewell comes back to haunt West Ham United again.
It's a great delivery. It doesn't give Rob Green the chance to get there. Really flat, Ridgewell gets across his marker and powers home. And he really does get some.
Rightly say, and Carlton Cole getting the winner for them in the end. And you do think, what's this mean now? But then you realise that goal from Liam Ridgewell had levelled it. Carlton Cole put them ahead. But one goal in any game, you're still in the game. You're still in the game. So all of a sudden, we're driving back up the motorway and we're talking about, listen, what an opportunity this is. 1 down at St Andrews. The fans will frighten the life out of them. We'll be buzzing. That's the atmosphere you had. So you went back to St Andrews, 2-1 down, preferring it to be level, preferring to have a lead, but knowing that at 2-1 down, you are still in the game big time.
Tough place to go, Upton Park. But as you said, it is a 2-legged game. And the atmosphere at Blues, and that season, we just had a thing where we just pulled results out of the bag, especially obviously in the first half of the season. The second half we didn't. But it was just that team that would just never die. And obviously, like people like Lee Bowyer and like Barry Ferguson in the team and Seb Larson, there was something different about them that you don't get in a lot of footballers. And you just felt there was a chance and like something special was going on. And obviously that's a bit of a cliche, but you know, it's true.
You feel that dream, that sort of bit of hope that you had is being pulled away from you, don't you? You know, gosh, you know, it's an uphill struggle now. Although we're going to be at home, which is an advantage, but.
Well, I think my thought was, here we go again. You know, we've got so far quarter-final, semi-final, you know, and that Wembley dream is just being snatched away from you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, I think Blues were playing well at the time, and you always thought that, yeah, they could do this. They could. There's a glimmer of hope, and get West Ham back at St Andrews, and they could do it. So again, you're not gutted because we've all been here before. Disappointing.
You're disappointed, aren't you? But it's almost like you say, here we go again.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it the hard way, aren't they?
Yeah.
So.
With semi-finals and being a supporter, you know that if you get back to St Andrews with a fighting chance, then you have a chance. And you would probably have taken going back to St Andrews with just a 1-goal deficit because you knew that home advantage would count for perhaps, you know, half a goal.
It was almost like we'd done the hard work and then obviously to go 2-1 down. But I think going into that West Ham game, it was, you don't get very many special nights at St Andrews, and you almost have to turn mediocre games into special nights. But especially being, you know, there was a chance of going to Wembley to win a domestic cup. But I think that's when St Andrews really comes into its own. I know every football fan will say, like, you know, our ground was rocking, the fans brought us through. But I really do think when St Andrews is rocking and everyone's on side and everyone starts to believe, it's literally no better place.
In a Wembley final at stake. Bridge looking to seek out Cole. Carlton Cole took it early.
I just remember that Carlton Cole goal was unbelievable. Great strike. What a goal that was. And I just thought, okay, we're out.
The throw-in reaches Carlton Cole, and what a goal! A real beauty from Carlton Cole that has West Ham on the brink of a Wembley final.
Well, if any goal deserves to get a team to Wembley, that is surely it.
West Ham were absolutely worthy of their lead. There were quite a few grumblings around the team selection. There was a perception that McLeish hadn't really gone for it. He was keeping his cards close to his chest and just trying to stay in the game. And when Carlton Cole put in that stunning goal, I think there was a heck of a lot of discontent. It wasn't just, you know, fans just pulling behind the team. There was a lot of annoyance at the performance so far. It was a really bad performance, but once we got to half time and once they came out for the second half and with the substitutions, you know, credit to McLeish, he turned it round. Zigic was fantastic. And once we got that first goal, it always felt like we would get a second.
Larson's corner. Zigic in there. And what a strike from Lee Bowyer! The former West Ham player
is as sweet as you like, and though Mark Noble is on the post, he's got no chance whatsoever. Such is the quality. Look at that, only a couple of inches over him, but he hardly sees it. It's a pile driver.
I have to say, in terms of atmospheres, that is as good as it gets. That semi-final, second leg, was as good as it gets. And I've had a lot of derby games. That was as good as it gets, that atmosphere. From the start, the Blues fans, as you know, knew they were still in the game 2-1 down. And you know what sticks in my mind? When Carlton Cole put them 3-1 up and the fat lady starts to gargle, you begin to wonder. But what amazed us was the Blues fans got behind the team even louder to get them, you know, this isn't over. Even at 3-1 down, when it looked over, they were not having it. And they lifted the team. And speaking to some of the players afterwards and to Alex McLeish and the backroom staff, the crowd did their bit that day, big time.
And then that second half, wow, just wow, what a turnaround. You wouldn't expect it, but everyone's just got a rocket up them, and it's great. And as soon as that first Bowyer thunderbolt goes in, it's like, what a goal. And then the crowd are up. The crowd are back on their feet. They're up for it. And it's like, come on, boys, this is semi-final. We can do something. We can go somewhere.
To go 2-1 down, going into St Andrews, and we rock that place. Oh, my God. A keep right on is literally all we need sometimes. And you see it like that. 1-0 down at home. A keep right on, bang. You see it all the time.
We've got a chance here, similar to atmosphere to the Villa game, 28,000 Blue Noses getting behind them. We're always going to have a chance, and that's as I say, the characters that we had back then, your Bowyers, Stephen Carr's, Barry Ferguson's. You're always going to give yourself a chance, and you can rely on those players to turn up on those big occasions. And again, when we went back to the second leg, I think Carlton Cole scored after 10 minutes, which put them 3-1 up on aggregate. And obviously away goals were a thing back then. So the away goals rule was in full swing. Went 1-0 down, looked a bit desperate, didn't it? And then they were 1-0 up at half time. I thought, how have we managed to blow this? And then, with half an hour left, ball comes in, Lee Bowyer against his old club, smashes it in the top corner, game on. And then you felt it then. You felt the place really come alive. And after that, I think as soon as Bowyer scored, West Ham were finished.
It's Larson's corner, and it forces the save.
Oh, he was just sneaking under the crossbar. Jerome got the last touch to that. Fairly easy save, he couldn't take any chances. To get there first and get up above Matthew Upson, which he does brilliantly. Having done that, to direct his header down, and it's the bounce that beats Boyle Morton and Robert Green. The bounce virtually on the goal line, where they've had their fair share of pressure, haven't they? What a fight back.
Well, you sensed that it had been coming.
It put the wind up all the West Ham players. That did they? Yeah, you might know was they all collapsed. You could just see it in them. There was a thought in the back of the Reds thinking, hold on, we're in trouble here. And then I think 10 minutes later, the ball comes in again. Roger Johnson smashes his header into the ground, bobbles up and goes in. Great header. And I just knew from that moment we were going to do it.
Once we got that first goal, it always felt like we would get a second. I was never convinced that we'd get a third without having to go to penalties. It felt to me like it was destined for penalties, especially when Gardner hit the post.
Here's Larson. Zigic up again, knocks it against Tompkins, who temporarily lost sight of it. Gardner's on the scene! Hits the post again! Second time that Craig Gardner has hit the post in the second half.
Incredible, isn't it?
Breadth away from reaching Wembley, were Birmingham City then. They could have clinched it without the need for extra time. Here's Parker. Well, it is extra time.
You hear most of the players speak about that game and even going on to the final at Wembley, and it was the fans like really played a part, and especially in the second leg when it was the odds were against us, sort of like the tilt and sucking that ball in the back of the net. I think Craig Gardner had about. He definitely had two similar like low-driven shots before he scored that third one, and it was just that when Blues can sense like the hard work, Blues fans can sense the hard work and can, they're putting in the effort in and they're just getting there or they're near there. That's when I think that's like the perfect. It's like the old stadium coming alive and just everyone getting behind the team and luckily that day we got the result.
Here's Bridge. Now Carr on the surge for Birmingham. Gardner in space. Craig Gardner! Third time lucky for Craig Gardner! Twice denied by the woodwork, but not to be denied this time. It's the Birmingham boy, the Birmingham fan, who has them heading for Wembley.
You could just see the belief drain out of West Ham's fans and players, and you knew that it was inevitable that we were going to Wembley.
Again, in typical Stephen Carr fashion, like he did in the quarterfinals, sticking it down the wing to Jerome, comes inside one of his darting ones on the right, and bearing in mind Stephen Carr's coming to the end of his career, then I think he retired less than 2 seasons after that. You'd thought he was in his prime then, early 20s, running down the line, puts it to Gardner, puts it onto his right foot, and then just a typical trademark Craig Gardner finish. And that season, Gardner loved the goal. He scored a few goals like that. But the atmosphere when that goal went in, and you just can't beat it. The tilt and again just complete pandemonium.
He's undoing in the end, but he looks behind him, and to his horror, he sees it in the far corner.
Craig pops up with an absolute belter, and I just can't tell you. I know on the commentary, I went absolutely mental. I just can't tell you. I can't. People were telling me afterwards the things I was saying, but you just don't begin to believe, because you knew at 94 minutes it weren't. I'm sorry. There's no extra time. There's nothing. No penalties. They ain't coming back from this. They are not coming back from this. And then just after that, the whistle went. And I remember looking round and the place was electric. Blues fans, I don't think I've seen so many men hugging and kissing each other since I watched Brokeback Mountain. It was just absolutely amazing.
Birmingham City keep right on to the end of the road and are in the Carling Cup final. It's been a rocky road at times, but they will face Arsenal at Wembley on February the 27th. They were 3-1 down on aggregate at one stage, but Alex McLeish's team from the second half of the match itself fought back. Bowyer and Johnson in normal time, and Craig Gardner, the local hero in extra time, his goal the decisive one, and Birmingham are at Wembley.
Well, it's a great testament to the character that Alex McLeish has engendered within this squad. They're not always full of goals, this team, but what they don't lack for is character. And to go a goal down to a wonderful Carl strike, to be 3-1 down in aggregate and eventually win the tie. I mean, it's great powers with recovery. It really is a fantastic win for Birmingham City and Alex McLeish.
That's hard to top. That is really hard to top, because whenever we beat Villa, it's massive, it's huge, it's brilliant. But just that comeback was so special, and the elation of the fact that Blues are going to Wembley. And I don't think anyone would have expected us to go to Wembley anytime soon, considering how we were performing in the league. It was like, what? It was unbelievable. So that thought that we were going to be on the biggest stage in England is crazy. And it was quite fresh at the time. I think it was only 3 or 4 years old, that Wembley at that point. So it was obviously very exciting because it was Blues' first proper trip to the new Wembley, which made it even more exciting. You know, another ground for fans to tick off their list. There's so much to be buzzing about.
The whistle finally goes and the ground just erupts.
Yeah.
You know, and the feeling of elation is fantastic. And then the next feeling you've got is, blimey, how am I going to get me tickets for the next game?
It was quite hard to get a ticket. Obviously, I was a season ticket holder, so I think season ticket holders got priority. But I remember standing in a queue for like 4 hours outside of St Andrews.
Me, it was definitely, you know, relief, joy, excitement. Get home, circle that date in the calendar, February the 27th. Refreshing the website to see when ticket details are going to come out. You know that you're guaranteed one because you're a season ticket holder, but you still want to get that piece of paper in your hand that says you're actually going. So yeah, it was absolute elation.
Sadly, I didn't go to the game, and if there's one thing that I could do in life, like if I could change anything, it would be to go to that game. You know, I'd do anything now, regardless of what. I'd do anything bad now to just go back in time, just to go to that game. You know, it's the one regret I have in life that I never went to that game. But like in the future, you know, if ever Blues get to Wembley, I'm going. I don't care what the occasion is, I'm going. But no, in terms of that game, the occasion was huge. I watched it at home. Like I had scarves on, hat on, full Blues. You know, I even got a blue slush drink for the game. I was that into it. You know, we put Blues stuff all up around the house. So the occasion was massive. You know, I've never seen Birmingham get to a cup final. I haven't since to this day. And trust me, the occasion was massive.
It was just the pure excitement. Blues, we'd never been to the new Wembley before up until that point. Just unbelievable. You can imagine that, you know, a club like us where we were just never really had much successes, you know, in terms of domestic cups and really winning anything. So it was just one of those moments where you knew that it was the biggest day of our lives.
I think if everybody was honest, you know, Arsenal were clear favourites, right, for the game, right. You know, we got down there, we went down on the train, we went and got something to eat, a few drinks. All the pubs were buzzing with Blues fans, right? And, you know, I thought we had a chance, right? If I was honest, you know, Arsenal were clear favourites in that game, right? So, you know, I knew we always had a chance, and I was hoping a little bit as well.
And I think everybody thought it was a foregone conclusion that Arsenal would win the Carling Cup. I think everybody believed that. Outside of B9, they did anyway, because everybody at Blues was convinced this was our year. That was I heard that. I must have heard that a million times walking into town, from where BRMB was in Broad Street, walking into town, and everybody would stop you and they go, "This is our year, Tom, this is our year." And I began to believe it because they'd convinced me as well, you know. But I'm a realist. I looked at the Arsenal team and I thought, oh my days, this is a really tough game. But in a one-off game, who knows what can happen? And I knew that the one thing about that team we had that stood out was its honesty. If they were going to get beat by Arsenal, Arsenal would know they would be in a battle. They would be in a fight. And they're the sort of people, Craig Gardner, Zigic, Stephen Carr, Ben Foster, all the lads, you'd want them in the trenches with you. Scott Dan, Roger Johnson, they're the ones, Liam Ridgewell, you want them in the trenches with you because they didn't know when they were beat. So that sort of got you ready. BRMB they were doing badges, which you could pin on our way to Wembley with Blues and all that sort of stuff. We did so much. We had posters done with Craig Gardner, which, by the way, Craig Gardner's got framed in his house at the moment. We threw everything into it, BRMB. And so we come to the day, and on the day, I made sure that I wore exactly what I'd worn for the semi-final. They've been washed, but I made sure I wore exactly the same for that day as I'd won for the semi-final. I've never done that before, never done it since, but I was determined not to take any risks that day against Arsenal. And I remember meeting Adam Bridge, who was my touchline reporter, Colin Tatham, John McCarthy, meeting at Tesco's on the M42, Junction 4, and driving down, and passing Blues cars, passing and pipping their horns, and just unbelievable atmosphere on the way down just to get to it. But I had to be early. We had to be early because BRMB had got a roadshow on Wembley Way with lots of giveaways, live programs from Wembley Way. And also we'd got people on the supporters buses. We'd got reporters at pubs in and around Birmingham for those who hadn't got a ticket. So we were doing it right. This was a big occasion for BRMB, which was with Birmingham Station. Why shouldn't it be? We gave everything. And so we got there early, and we went down to the bottom to the cafe and had a cup of tea and a sausage sandwich or whatever it was. It was rammed with Blues fans, and it was just amazing. And I'm thinking, I shouldn't be getting excited. I've got to prepare for a big game. I've done all my stats and whatever I do, but I thought I've got to calm down here. So I thought, right, so let's get out. So we got out the cafe and went back up Wembley Way, and I'd got to be at the roadshow with John McCarthy to do bits and pieces, live interviews and stuff down the line to BRMB, and to do some, say hello to fans and stuff, and give out some stickers and badges and car stickers, all them sort of things that we were doing for the day. And I got caught up in it. We met so many fans and had so many, John McCarthy, so many pictures, Blues fans in kilts, Blues fans painted up, Blues fans just absolutely loving the moment. Whatever the result was going to be, they've come for a day out, a great day out. And boy, did they make the effort. And we had a wonderful time on Wembley Way. And then it was time to go to the stadium. So get in, check in, get in there, get your seats, our engineers already there, already rigged up and everything. And I'm sitting down and it's pretty much empty. And then all of a sudden it starts to fill. And all of a sudden, to my right is the Blues fans, and that starts to fill. The Arsenal, quiet. Blues fans singing non-stop, absolutely non-stop. And I had my report, funny stories. My reporter, Adam Bridge, was with the fans behind the goal. And the one story from the day, I crossed him. I said, let's go to our man behind the goal, Adam Bridge. Adam, who are you with? He said, I've got John with me. I think John was the name, I'm pretty sure. John's with me. And John, where have you come from? I've come from wherever, da-da-da. You're looking forward to, yeah, we've got a great chance. And he says, who are you with? He said, I'm with my mate, Barry, or something like that. And he said, well, where is he? Has he gone for the teas? He said, no, here he is. And he picked up an urn. His mate had passed away, but he promised his mate he would take him to Wembley if ever Blues got there. And he brought his mate's ashes to the ground. I've got to say, it was a lump in my throat because I knew exactly what he meant when you're with your best pal and you've made a promise. And that was like a really, really poignant moment for me to do that. It just blew me away. A little bit later, I crossed back to Adam behind the goal with the fans. He's got a young man with him. Adam, who are you with? I've got little Billy with me. I don't know his name because it's a long time. He said, I've got little Billy with me. And Billy, what do you think? Oh, it's going to be a great day. The little kids eulogising about Blues and they're going to win and stuff. And Adam says, do you play football? He said, yeah, I'm a midfielder. I play. And Adam says, I bet you'd love to play on this pitch, wouldn't you? And the lad says, I did last week for England schoolboys. so that lightened the whole moment. But it just summed up that day where everybody's involved.
Yeah, I think, without a shadow of a doubt, we're not stupid. We all thought that the chances of us winning were very, very slim. So you kind of try and block that out of your mind and think, well, let's just enjoy the day out. But in your heart, really, as any supporter that's followed any football team, in your heart, really, you want your team to win. Obviously, you think that this is the moment. But of course, when you think about it logically, your brain works it out, and the chances of us beating those Arsenal players We're very, very slim, and you're right. Nobody gave us a chance. Every football pundit on the TV, every newspaper, no one gave the Blues a chance in that game. We were never going to win it. And not only were we never going to win it, we were going to get beaten quite comfortably by a very, very good Arsenal side.
So, you know, our fans all turned up early and sang their hearts out for ages before kick-off, whereas the Arsenal fans just strolled up, really, because I think they obviously felt this was a formality. So from their point of view, there wasn't the same same kind of importance to the game. And interestingly enough, there was a story as well. I think I was listening, but Alex insisted all the lads turned up in suits and everything, and looking the part. And of course, the Arsenal players, I think, just turned up in the tracksuits. And I think Stephen Carr in particular made a point of this and told all the lads. He said, "Look at that." He said, "We'll show them," kind of thing, and silly things like that, really, just pre the game.
Nobody really in their right mind thought that we would beat Arsenal. I didn't, I've got to be honest. Although, 10 years previously in the League Cup final in Cardiff, we played Liverpool, a division below, and very, very nearly won that. Should have won it probably if the referee had given us a penalty, which he should have done in extra time. So yeah, underdogs. It's great to be an underdog. That's any team will love that. And from what I know about that day, before the game, Arsenal turned up in their tracksuits. Turned up at Wembley in their tracksuits like it's a training session, as if to say, well, we just live around the corner, we'll turn up, win the cup, go home. And the Blues players heard about this, saw what was happening, and they thought, right, said, we'll show this lot. I'm sure the language is a bit more choice than that. Barry Ferguson, Lee Bowyer, people like that saying, okay, Stephen Carr, bring it on. We'll show you who's the boss. And, they broke their hearts. They out-battled them. And refused to lie down. And Arsenal are the sort of team that, they love it when they're knocking their football around. And at that time, they were a great footballing team, Van Persie and Wilshere coming through. But we just knocked them around and said, okay, we'll play this on our terms.
In the Premier League, the gulf between them is huge. Arsenal gunning for the title, while Birmingham are still in danger of going down. They're separated by 13 places and 26 points. And Arsenal have scored twice as many goals. So no wonder the bookies make them odds-on favourites.
Do you know what? The build-up to the game, it's weird because look back and at the time it felt so slow, but afterwards it felt like it all went so quickly, and it's like, oh God, we're here now. What do we do? All you can do as a fan is just always support the team. But it was also still, you want to enjoy the moment and sing, keep on as loud as possible. It's also hard because you're struggling to take in what's around you. Whereas Arsenal fans, they'll be used to the trip to Wembley. It's same old for them lot. Especially in cup competitions like the League Cup or the FA Cup, stuff like that. So it was special for Blues, but Blues fans made the most of it. And that energy, that support, the noise, it was always going to have an effect on the players, and a positive one at that.
And there was actually Arsenal fans on the tube on the way to Wembley, going, 3-4-0, and just talking like that had it in the bag. Speaking about, your Sammy and Asby's, Van Persie was on form, Wilshere was a world beater, going to be the next big thing back then. And 2 weeks before the final between us and Arsenal just beat the best team ever. So they beat Barcelona, which had Iniesta, Xavi, Messi, David Villa played for them back then. That was the side that they had. And Barcelona, even though they beat them in the group stage, Barcelona went on to win the Champions League at Wembley. Arsenal just beat them. Blues had got beat by Arsenal 3-0 the month before the cup final. I actually went to that game, and it was like men against boys. We couldn't get the ball off them. Fabregas dictating it. I think Van Persie got a couple. One was a free kick. They were just levels and levels above what Blues were. So, going up to Arsenal fans, to be fair to them, they had every right to be going, this should be our first piece of silverware in God knows how long ever it was then. But they hadn't won a cup in, I think, 10 years or something. Something like that, 6, 7, 8 years. So they had every right to be cocky. They just battered us in the league. And we'd been on a terrible run. yeah, they were talking like they were going to do us 3-4-0. And then get into the game itself before we come out of the pub, it was just thousands and thousands of Blues fans. And I know there was, I think, 35,000 Blues fans at Wembley. There was more than that in London that day. I'd probably get close to 50,000 Blues fans in London that day. Just being in and around it, being in the atmosphere, staying for the weekend, going out, partying, regardless of the result. That's the way Blues are anyway. So yeah, getting there, unbelievable.
And I was very privileged, went up to this private box and was well wined and dined, and just the excitement was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And of course, when we kicked off, Arsenal were the red hot favourites, as I said before. I think they were second in the Premiership, so they were red hot favourites. But you know, Birmingham City fans, we were there for the day. We were there for the occasion. If we lost, it would be not bitter, but it would be acceptable. We've been through it all before. And if we won, well, we didn't even think that we could win. I'm sure, you know, it was just a dream. So when the match kicked off, I was in good voice. I was in a private box, but totally out of order, screaming and shouting. I wasn't swearing, to be fair, but the people in the box, I don't think, had much sort of allegiance with Arsenal or Birmingham or even football. Maybe they were there for the occasion, you know. But at the same time, that didn't stop me enjoying myself. And there were hundreds of Birmingham City fans right in front of me, sitting down, and they clocked I was in the box. So throughout the game, they kept turning towards me and putting fingers up or fingers down or shouting and screaming. It was just a day to remember, without a doubt.
I remember in the first half, Blues started really well. I think a lot of people thought that we would perhaps try and keep it tight and just play on the counter. But I remember Blues settled far quicker than Arsenal, which was quite surprising to a lot of people. I think a lot of people remember the Bowyer charging through and being brought down by Chesney and the flag going up. And I got a text from somebody watching at home being like, he was onside, which I think fueled a lot of people's, you know, fueled the noise a little bit more.
His game, Lee Bowyer's. I mean, it did look close first time of asking. He's so good at timing those runs, and he does it here. Look at that goal, Clichy at left back, playing him on. Really should have stayed down that flag, and that would have been a penalty. You're right, Alan. And the referee, Mike Dean, would have had a huge decision to make within the first 3 minutes of this match.
I definitely remember Blues starting really well and creating chances. I think Zigic was a real threat to the Arsenal defence, and that proved with the first goal, with Johnson getting the flick and then Zigic heading it in. I remember Blues starting really well and perhaps taking a lot of people by surprise, including us.
I was actually working for Sky Sports as a pundit, and I remember saying, you know, prior to the game that I thought Birmingham would win the game by 1 goal, probably 1-0. And of course, I was being accused of being very, very biased, you know, towards the club that I've supported since I was a young boy. But I just generally felt that they had a good chance. I mean, a lot of people would think I was balmy, because why would I think Birmingham would win when Arsenal have got a better team, far better individual players? But there was always, for me, a flimsiness about Arsenal, which you could expose if you got your tactics right. And certainly Alex McLeish, I felt, got his tactics right. I think part of his tactical approach was built around quite a big guy called Zigic, who we've mentioned once or twice so far. You know, he scored the first goal in this game. And when you're playing against a guy who's 6'7" and a little bit, you know, it's not an understatement to say, a little bit awkward and cumbersome in his approach, you know, it can make life very, very difficult, you know, for the opposition. And Blues, you know, they always play with aggression, play with great determination. And they played a little bit more direct on the day, which I think was the right way to go about it, to unsettle what was a back four that was never ever, really, solid, never really tight. They're always capable, Arsenal, of making mistakes. And how ironic it was that Zigic got the first goal.
Larson will take. And he's into that crowd of players and they've scored! Against all the odds! Zigic on target! It's Birmingham who take the lead! And the favourite Arsenal, who have a major problem now!
Well, it's normally Nikola Zigic getting the first header, and it's all about the second ball. But it was all about the second ball here, wasn't it? They get a bit of luck and then it goes straight to the Giants' serve. When they initially get the flick, is it Roger Johnson, who's normally so powerful in the air, and he does a job for his team? All he has to do is just twist the body and the neck and get a little glance on it. Szczesny arrives on the scene a little late.
The Nikola Zigic goal, a classic set piece, I think it was a corner, and ball comes over, Roger Johnson gets a header on, and Ziggy gets in front of the keeper and just deflects it, flicks it in. So very, very well worked set piece, really. He caused, funny enough, Ziggy had caused Arsenal one or two problems in the past. I remember him scoring a great goal at the Emirates, and so no, it was that was that, yeah, and that itself really. How can I put it? It sounds ever so pessimistic. You think to yourself, wow, at least, that massive blue, we're giving them something to shout about. We've got a goal, we've taken the lead, and even if it goes wrong now, there's been a moment to absolutely savour. But of course, it turned out a bit better than that.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Obviously, we scored the first goal, so I think it was like in the first half as well, quite early on. Everyone was just going mental. Everyone was just like hugging each other. Like the singing, like the roar from the singing afterwards, because we love to sing after we score a goal. The Blues fans, that's our best. To be fair, we were singing all the way through. I think I lost my voice after the game. I had a really bad throat after. But yeah, it was just absolute limbs. I mean, Zigic popping up the goal as well, had to be him. And yeah, it was just pure carnage in the Blues end. And Arsenal just sitting there, absolutely silent.
We just didn't know what to do. It's like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? I think every Blues fan felt like that. It's like, surely we won't hang on. We've been so bad in the league that we weren't expecting to hold on against a team like Arsenal. So it was a question of where do we go now? What do we do? How do we set up? And we just kept battling. We didn't. The standard never really dropped. And then it took a moment of real quality from Robin van Persie, one of the greatest strikers in Premier League history, to pull off a very, very impossible shot. And as soon as that goes in, it's like, oh, classic Blues. Of course, we can see the worldie like that. It's a very one-off strike, and not much Urinek can do. Van Persie has just impossibly bent his leg around. Luckily enough, that goal actually injured him. So see you later, Robin. And another advantage for Blues, as well as Arsenal missing Fabregas, who, by the way, they're arranging for him to pick up the cup. And that, it's a bit like West Ham fans when they were trying to buy tickets for their hotels and stuff. It's just those arrogant clubs, particularly London clubs, for Blues not to have any arrogance whatsoever. They're just there enjoying the time, enjoying the experience, makes it all the more special. And I think that makes us all the more deserving to win the competition.
Blues were in front, but as a Blues fan, you've had your heart broken so many times. You're thinking, when's it going to go wrong? It's one of those things that is part of our DNA. And when Robin van Persie equalised, I thought, they're gonna probably beat us 3-4-1 now with all their star players. But they dug in.
Second half, we'd given everything. I think we hit the post.
A little bit of bother, Arsenal, but it's just an instinctive strike when the ball comes back to him. Swings the right boot. Szczesny's looking to his right.
Yeah, and you thought, ooh, that's a moment gone. Really, you're thinking, no, it's not going to happen. And those players have given absolutely everything. I think Craig Gardner had to come off with a dead leg. we were looking a bit thin, and I've got to be honest, I didn't fancy this in extra time at all, because Arsenal seemed to be getting stronger, and you know, with the wonderful style that they played, and they were opening us up a bit, and we were hanging on a bit, and then the moment came.
Ben Foster, everything that came at him, he just seemed to bat away. They had chances later on. Again, Bentner, one of them that cut in, that Foster managed to get his hands to. And at that point, I just thought, there's goals in this. There's no chance that this goes to extra time, that there is goals in it. And I think we had one unbelievable chance where it was Keith Fahey on the edge of the box, fouled to him on the half volley, smacked it, hit the inside of the post and went out. And I thought to myself, it's just going to be another repeat of that the Worthington Cup final with Liverpool, where we have some unreal chances to put the game to bed, and it's just not falling for us. Fahey misses, Arsenal are dominating possession at that point. Then McLeish makes the change, Beausejour comes on, and obviously you know who, Obafemi Martins comes on. And up until that point, you know, I think I went and watched him actually, scored against Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup. I think it was the 4th round, but hadn't played many games. Didn't have many minutes under his belt at that time. So he come on, you know, I think it was 10 minutes left, something like that. And I remember Ben Foster having a free kick in our own half, probably literally 20 yards from his own to literally the spot. So again, with that, I remember when he's taking that free kick, and you hear the 4th official, the announcer, saying, "I think there'll be a minimum of," I think he had 4 or 5 minutes on. And I just remember, as he's still repeating it, the ball's gone into Arsenal's box, and before he even realised, the ball's in the back of the net, and it happened so quick. Koscielny, who's a Blues legend now, Wojciech Szczesny, both Blues legends for what they did. Just what on earth were they doing? And with all the bad luck that we've had for years and historically with the club, you know, we've had the Gypsy curse, and we've never been blessed with any luck at this club. And for that moment, for them two to bugger up, fall over each other and drop the ball, it couldn't have fallen any better. On his left foot in the 90th minute, just that he's adding the additional time on. That stuff doesn't happen to us. And it felt like every bit of bad luck that the club's had in the whole of our history was gone, all in the matter of a split second. That was our moment. And
yeah, in the second half, it felt that for the first 10 minutes or so, we were continuing to create chances. I remember Keith Fahey hitting the post and having quite a lot of territory. But for the last sort of half an hour, 20 minutes, Blues began to retreat a little bit. Gardner went off injured, which obviously had a massive impact because he was instrumental in driving Blues forward. And Blues were hanging on a bit. Foster obviously made a lot of decent saves. But it always felt as if Blues had a chance, particularly from set pieces. You always knew that Arsenal side, although they were talented, they were vulnerable and arguably had a bit of a soft centre. So if Blues could get a set piece or a corner or a free kick, then Blues had a chance. I don't think when I say that Blues had a set piece, I don't think anybody expected a free kick from 80 yards inside your own half to be the one.
And it goes again towards the towering Zigic. Oh, confusion, and Martins has surely scored the winning goal for Birmingham City. What a finish! What a final! What a celebration! What a shock!
Well, what a calamity as well, as far as Arsenal's defending goes. Szczesny and Koscielny just getting each other's way. Nobody takes charge. When Zigic heads it down, there's no danger whatsoever, is there? Between the two of them, where's the shout? He pulls out at the last minute, Koscielny. I don't think you can pull out there. Just put your boot through it, clear it, and ask questions later. You cannot afford to pull out at that stage. It is a gift.
Obafemi Martins scores the easiest goal of his career. It could be the most important.
But yeah, the moment that the goal went in, it felt like time stood still. It was odd. It was. There was obviously, when you watch it back now, there's no way that anybody could be offside, or there's no way that it could ever be a foul. But I remember looking at the linesman and the referee for an absolute age, and it was only really when I think Martin started doing his somersaults and his flips that I kind of lost it and realised that we had scored. And wow, yeah, that was the 89th minute, and we are going to win the cup. And incredible. I think I burst into tears. My sister burst into tears. It was just bedlam, wasn't it?
It happened on the biggest stage of them all for Arsenal. Szczesny, Koscielny collide when Zigic has not done the knockdown, and then the most unlikely man to score a cup final winner for Birmingham City, Obafemi Martins. I don't think anyone could miss from there. Taps it home, and the noise, just the noise. Funnily enough, out of anything that happened that day, I feel like the winner is the bit I remember the least, because you just don't expect it to happen. It was so unbelievable that you just couldn't quite comprehend or take in how special that moment is.
And come the 89th minute, all of a sudden, Ben Foster puts a long ball forward onto the head of Zigic, and God knows what the Arsenal defenders and goalkeeper were playing at, but it just dropped out of their hands, and Martin scored the easiest goal ever. And honestly, people are like, what's your favourite Blues goal? And there's a lot of good goals that are scored technically, long range efforts, free kicks. But I mean, that actually means something, that goal. So that will always be my favourite Blues goal.
And the place went mental. Standing out for me was Barry Ferguson running past Koscielny and just patting him on the head as if to say, thanks a lot. It was just amazing. And remember, Barry Ferguson played most of the game with broken ribs after an injury. So I think then the place just went wild. I went wild, probably unprofessional, but I just absolutely lost it with the goal, because you knew that, like, the time was up. Time was up. They wouldn't come back from this. You knew that. And I'll never forget when the goal scored, for that 1 second, I've looked at the linesman going, go on, this is Birmingham, put your flag up, something will happen. And it didn't. The goal was given. And then it was like bedlam. I looked at the Blues fans. They were ecstatic. They could not be happier, whatever the situation. And I remember in the commentary, going, this is better than sex. And you hear John McCarthy go, it is the way you do it, lad. And that was, and then he starts giggling because I've just lost it with the goal. And it was like Obafemi Martins. And it was just, and then just after that, when the whistle went, it was just absolute joy. And I think the joy came from nobody giving you a chance. And let me tell you, fair play to Arsenal, because their fans made the quickest exit out of a stadium known to man. They couldn't have got out quicker. Silent, out, gone. And all that was left in the stadium was the Blues fans at the one end singing their heads off.
This is it. If they don't score from this, they surely won't score at all. Birmingham fans screeching for the whistle as it goes back in again. Birmingham City have triumphed against all the odds and pulled off one of the biggest upsets in the history of the League Cup final. Arsenal, the odds-on favourites, have been beaten, and their long wait for a trophy goes on. Devastation. Very few people outside St Andrews gave Birmingham any hope of winning here today, but they stayed true to the words of their famous theme song. They kept right on to the end of the road, and Obafemi Martins closed that road off for Arsenal to pull off a famous victory. And Birmingham will lift their first trophy for almost 50 years, and only the second major prize in the club's whole history.
you couldn't have wrote the script any better for this cup run. It was the dream cup run for any club. And for the fact that it happened to Blues just makes it so special, because you rarely get those moments at any football clubs. And I think that's why Blues fans will forever cherish that cup final and the elation when the final whistle goes. The players were battling, and I don't think they would have conceded. I had the way they were defending, I had full faith that we were just going to go on and win that. Even when you look at it now, they were battling for their lives, particularly players like Steve Carr and Roger Johnson going at it. I don't think they'd have conceded, because they knew how much it meant to those fans and their families. Because, you know, you've got to think the players, it means everything to them too, because it's a once in a lifetime for some of those players. So for it to be Blues that go on to win that is just very special.
It was our day, and there was nothing that was going to stop us in the end, obviously. And, you know, fate was on our side, and whatever happened, it was something that will probably never happen again in our lives. But Blues being Blues, look, you can never write us off.
I just remember all like the players on the pitch, just pure emotion from them, because I'm sure a lot of them didn't really win much in their career before that. And I think I know a lot of players have said on podcasts and stuff that is the best moment of their career. And you could just see that. And the one thing that I always remember seeing is Koscielny getting slapped after the goal. That was a good moment, and just seeing the Arsenal fans disperse, and within 5 minutes they were all gone, and they just got the train home, and it was class. I loved every second of the after the 90 minutes.
I mean, the celebrations went all the way from that goal going into the final whistle and way beyond. And my reaction, I mean, I looked around, and a lot of Arsenal fans just vanished. I mean, a lot of people around me. I was with Chris Kamara, who was in the same box as me, and I was practically on Chris Kamara's shoulders. I know Cammy very well, and through Sky, and you know, he loved it because it was a great story. You know, I mean, the underdogs have won it. I was all over the place, and before I knew it, the tears started. And somebody said, who I work with at ITV now, said I was crying my eyes out. I don't remember that, but I remember crying. But it was extraordinary, really. And it kind of, my instinct was to try and get to the far. I was on this middle row in the Arsenal end, so I wanted to get round to where the Blues fans were. You know, it was at the far end of the stadium. I tried to, I showed my pass and all the press pass and all the rest of it, but the stewards just wouldn't let me round. So it was a kind of weird thing, so I kind of missed out on that side of it. And before I knew it, I had this kind of empty feeling. It was a very odd thing, and I suppose a lot of Blues supporters about this since that. I remember walking down Wembley Way afterwards, and everyone was dead quiet. It was, and people have told me that the trains back to Birmingham were the same. Everyone was exhausted, just sort of sitting there going, "Did that really happen?" So it was, it was something that we weren't used to, and I had this very odd feeling of, is that it? We've won something.
Birmingham City! This is quite simply the greatest moment in Birmingham's history.
Keep right on.
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 There we go. Keep right on, boys.
Keep right on.
Keep right on.
Keep right on.
Keep right on. Up the Blues.
Keep right on to the end of the road.
Keep right on.
Keep right on. Yes. Come on, you Blues.
My old man took me to Blues. And the first song he taught me was Keep Right On as a toddler. But he never told me how tired and weary I'd get, or how long the bloody road was.